Hi all, good morning, good evening. Welcome to the new session of PLSQL. This is Mahesh. Are you able to see the screen? And any difficulty with the audio? Please let me know. Okay, cool. We'll just wait for a couple of more minutes for others to join and then we'll start the session. Hi Blakely. We'll wait for a couple of minutes, then we'll start the session. Okay. All right, everyone. So hi, welcome all. I'll just give a brief description about myself. This is Mahesh. I'm basically a software professional working on testing platform, mainly into ETL testing. I have almost 13 years of experience into ETL testing. I give trainings on ETL as well as SQL and PLSQL. Hope the audio is good enough and you are able to see the screen as well. So we are all good, right? All yes? Good. Okay. So I see a lot of questions already posted. Please park them for a while, and once I end up my session, I'll be open to the questions. Okay. All right. So just to give a brief introduction, this session is about PLSQL. Okay. Uh, Now I just want to understand who my audience are about. Okay. So I'm just launching a couple of polls. Please answer them so that it will help me in understanding who my audience is about. Okay. Okay. So you able to see the screen now, Sanjay? Okay. Fine. So I'm just launching a poll, couple of questions. Okay. Please take a minute of your time and answer it. Okay. Here goes the first question. I see only 50% voted. All, please use the poll button instead of typing the message. Okay. So I see that 50% of you are not aware of SQL, and 27% of you are trained on SQL, and 20% of you are experienced on using SQL. Okay, good enough. All right. I just have another question, final question. Okay, it's open for you. Mm, okay, cool. So what I say is 40% of you are not aware of PLSQL and 60% of you are aware of SQL. Wow, that's a contradictory statement to what uh, to the previous question. So you are not aware of SQL, but you are aware of PLSQL. Isn't it quite contradictory? Okay, let's go back. All right. So you're able to see the screen now, right? Okay. All right. So now, what is that you face real-time problems with SQL? Okay, the ones who are already experienced and the ones who are aware of SQL, I want you to list out the common problem statements that you encounter with SQL. And for those who are not aware of SQL, please don't worry. Just give us a couple of minutes of time and we'll be back on track. Okay. So this question is primarily to those who are aware of SQL and who are experienced on SQL. So please list out a couple of problems that you encountered using SQL. Okay. It is hard to write complex queries. Okay. Okay. I would want to be a bit detailed as well here. So when I say complex queries, what do you mean by complex queries as well? It does not know how to tune SQL. Okay, tuning SQL. This means the way you write SQL with minimum statements. Is it right? That is what you mean? And less looping. Difficult to understand the error messages. Okay. So when I have multiple tables, the looping will be big. Yes, right. Okay. Nested queries. Okay. All right. Anything else that you felt? Nested queries, subqueries. Okay. All right. Anything else? The most important one, rightly said by Gunshekran. Connecting the SQL output to the visualization tools like Tableau, OBI. Very good. Excellent. So visualization or reporting of the SQL output is not always in line with SQL the reports. It can be anything like Tableau, OBI, etc., SSRS, etc. Right, correctly pointed out. The unions, right. So, for those who are not aware of SQL, I would suggest this training will be something alien language, because if you are not aware of SQL, this doesn't make any sense at all. But what I would suggest is just have a look about this, what is that we are discussing in this training, and you will have to go through the SQL classes or the old SQL videos to understand this. But just to give a glimpse about it, I'll just give a basic idea to all of you. For those who are already trained and experienced, please bear for a couple of minutes. Now, any web application or any software application has a front end and a back end system which will show data and store data respectively. So in the front end, you see the system, you see the information, whereas in the back end system, you store the data. So these back end systems are generally termed as databases or file server. These days we are using data warehouse. Okay. Now when the data is stored in the database, you need to retrieve them, right? It should be shown in the front end. So how do you retrieve? We use a language called as SQL. This is the language that is used to retrieve the data from the backend systems to the front end. It can be either the web application, or it can be a tool that is used to connect to the database like SQL Developer, SQL Plus, etc. Toad, or in the front end application developed using Java or .NET or any other programming language. Okay. Now this language is very plain and simple. It will retrieve the data, or it will modify the data. It edits, inserts, deletes the data, stored the data in the database system. Generally, when I see the data in the front end, it is not obviously, or it is not always aligned to what it looks like in the front end. So simple query, if I write, I have a table which holds employee information. Okay, so the table columns are like employee ID, name, date of joining, date of birth, salary, and location. Okay, now generally I'll just give some sample data. Just giving some sample data. Okay, now if I have to see it in the front end, how will generally will be seen? Okay, say suppose it's just a plain system which will show all the information like this. So my front end application has this. I'll add another column. Okay, in the front end application, it looks like this: employee number, name, date of joining, date of birth, salary, and location and gender. So this is how it is looking like. Okay. Now when you have to test this, how do you test? So I retrieved the information of Mahesh into the front end. Okay. So now if you have to test whether the data is coming correctly or not, how do you do? I mean, what is your test approach? Or you are doing unit testing for this. So what will you do? This is a question to all. Got the point, or you want me to repeat it again? So the question is, I have my database table output defined like this, okay? But in the front end, I want to see like this, okay? So how do I test? This is a basic, simple question. So what will I do? Employee number should be mapped to employee ID. I'll see whether the correct employee is coming or not. Okay, then name Mahesh, date of joining, date of birth, salary, location, and mail. Okay, so this is simple way of checking. So I'll write a simple select statement, select employee number, comma name, comma date of birth, comma date of joining, and I'll get the entire details and I'll see the front end. Okay, this is very simple way of telling. Okay, but say suppose in the front end, it looks like this. The employee number should come like e-name concatenated with empid. Okay, and name is caps in capital letters. Date of joining should be in DD, YY format, and date of birth should also be in DD, YY format, and salary should have INR concatenated with salary. And if the location is BLR, it should be Bengaluru. And male, it should be M, and if it is female, it should be F. So what am I doing here? The values that are stored in the database are, their format is being changed here. Okay. So now how do I do for this? How do I write my SQL query? Do you want to give a try on how to write a SQL query for this? So you will start using alias, you will start using the uppercase function for name, right? And for change of BLR to Bengaluru, what is the function that you will use in SQL? No, the value is BLR in database, but in front end it should be shown as Bengaluru. Or say suppose it's US, some say state like New York, it should be NY, it is NY in database, but in the front end it should be shown as New York. So how will I show? No, you will use the case statement for this. You will use a case statement. If it is NY, it should be New York. If it is WH, it should be Washington. If it is LA, it should be Los Angeles, like that. So for this, you will use a case statement. Here, what will you use? You will use the concatenate symbol, right? And here also, you will be using case statement. Now, if I have to write SQL for this, it will become a complex query, right? Agreed? What is a case statement? So case statement is one of the function in SQL which will help you in modifying the data, which means it is predefined that BLR should be shown as Bangalore and NY should be shown as New York, LA should be shown as Los Angeles. This is how you will want to see in the output. So what I'll do is I'll write a case statement saying that if it is NY, it should be shown as New York. If it is LA, it should show as Los Angeles, else Bangalore. Okay. So that is the reason I was asking you, whoever is not trained on SQL, it would become some complex. I mean, it would look like a bit complex. All right. So if you are already experienced on SQL and have a knowledge on SQL, case statement, you will be understanding. Any others have a problem with case statement here? Okay. Yes, I got your point. So you can use decode as well. I was trying to find out whether we are aware of it as well or not. Okay. Hmm. Okay, fine. Now, see, you can use decode statement. That's the best way of finding. That's the best alternate for giving it. Else, you can use case statement as well. Okay. Now, when you see this, the way the data is stored in database and the way the front end is showing the data is quite different. Now it becomes complex to write such queries. Agreed? A complex query has to be written to show the data the way we want to see in the front end. The best alternate is you change it according to the requirement. So in the database, you can change it accordingly. But now in real time, when multiple systems are there and data flows from various sources, it is not that easy to maintain uniform data types and values. Agreed? So have you seen any system any system where this particular issue is there? Okay. So there's a question. So there's a question, if there are too many cities in database, how do you do it? So that is where you will have to use, that's one classic problem that I was about to point out. So in such cases, you will have to write a stored procedure which will convert the all the values and put it in some place. Okay, so that's one usage of PLSQL. I was about to come there, but you just pointed out upfront. Now, so coming back to the problems. So this in this particular query or in this particular example, what is the state? What is the problem that you're looking? The first one, as rightly pointed by Katie, if the location has multiple cities, how do you do it? How do you decode it? 1, 2, or 3, you can do it. But for others, if it is more than 20, 30, you will have to write all decode statements or all case statements, right? So it will become a big program. So instead of that, you call it somewhere. You call it somewhere. Um, define what should be the values and use it on the need basis. It doesn't look good if I do this way? Or It's as simple as this. So what I do is I keep it as an output uh, using a subprogram, using a program, and call this program after seeing a condition as a subprogram, and the results of this program if used in the output, will it not help? You got the point? So for this simple one, location, I have almost 100 cities and I'll have to decode everything. So on the run, okay, on the run, so I want only to see the list of employees in Bangalore. Okay, so what will I do? I'll write select star from so and so table where the location is equal to Bangalore. Now in the output it should BLR, because in the database it is stored as BLR. Now in the output it should be shown as Bangalore. So out of a lot of values in the table, I'll have to filter on BLR and then convert it, right? It's very simple. But if I have multiple cities like BLR, New York, NY, LA, Washington, etc., etc. So what is it happening? I have a lot of combinations, and out of the using these combinations, I'll have to get my output. In such situations, the condition, the filtering uses multiple loops, which means, say suppose I got 10,000 records in the table, of which and I have 10 conditions. So how many times the looping happens here? 10 conditions means 10 cities. So how many times I'll have to verify? First city I'll verify in the 10,000 rows, right? Second city I'll again verify in 10,000. So on for 10 cities, I'll verify 10 into 10,000, that is 1 lakh iterations happen. Agree? Agreed? Yes, no, right? Instead of that, what I'll do is I'll have a program written for it, like a stored procedure. I'm jumping into stored procedure concept, but just park this one for a while. So I'll write a program which will which will decode all the city values and park it in a temp table. Okay, and its output I call in my SQL statement. Will it not be helpful? Will it not solve the problem? Yes, no, right? So that's one solution. That's one of the problem statement that we generally face in our what do you say day-to-day life of testing or writing the code for SQL. Okay. Now we'll take another example. I have a salary table, and I want to calculate commission, and its output is my entry criteria into a different table. Say suppose I have commission. Say suppose I have employees whose commission is more than $10,000 per month. So this should go into a new table. Okay, so this is the requirement. So if you are asked to do, or if you have to do, how will you do this? Don't think about any programming language, or just in a common sense, or how a common what do you say workflow has to be created. So how will you do this? I have employee ID, month, salary, number of units sold. Okay, so if the number of if number of units sold is greater than 10,000, the commission should be $500. If it is greater than 20,000, the commission should be $1,000. And if it is greater than 50,000, the employee should get 25% of the sale price. So this is the definition that is given. Okay, now based on this output, the output from this, the commission should be calculated, and those employees should be moved into a new table. Okay, so this is the requirement that is given. So how do generally you write a code for it? It is not that easy to write a select statement here, right? So you will be using a case statement. You will be getting all the employees first, and then those employees you will insert into the new table, right? Which means you are doing two different tasks here. One is fetching the employees based on the case statements used for this table. Take that output and write an insert statement to insert those values into new table. Agreed? Yes, right? So now at one shot, if you have to do this, is there any provision in SQL queries that we write? Right? You will have to write a procedure again, right? So this way of writing SQL query is nothing but your programming language, PL/SQL. So simple select SQL queries works majorly only on getting output from one or more tables. But if you have to write this output into a different table, it is done using programming language, PL/SQL. Okay. The other way is, if I have the front end different to what it is in the database, there also you will write your programming language. Okay. So these two are simple examples showcasing the need of programming language. Okay. Now, when it comes to Oracle systems, we generally call it as PL/SQL, whereas for SQL Server, we term it as TSQL. Even for DB2 also, I think it is TSQL itself. Okay. So when I say PL/SQL, it is a proprietary for Oracle database. All right. So now, as part of this training, we will be discussing about course content. We'll be discussing about the basic syntaxes. What is a function? What is a procedures? What's a trigger? Loops, and then the conditional statements, and then we'll have the exceptional handling, the error statements. What are the different types of error statements, and how do you what is a print, or how do you do the output? So DBMS output. And last but not least is the uh, the anomalous statements, or it generally saying the syntax. Okay, the syntax itself will cover that. So these 7 areas are of our primary focus as part of this training. And the various data types, again, apart from this, the data types we have, the LOBs, the large object definition, how do you do it? Okay, simple example is you have this Aadhaar card in India, or the Aadhaar card, where the fingerprint or your eye retina will give the entire information. So how does a database hold such information? So how does the data retrieval happens? So CLOB, what is a CLOB? What is a blob? Okay, how do you define that using the PL/SQL? So that would be handled as part of this training. Other simple things like what is an operator? Okay, in syntaxes itself, how will you declare the variables, etc. will be defined. And then and the other things like strings, arrays, cursors. Cursor, I just forgot about cursors. Yeah, I should mention it here. Cursors are nothing but your checkpoints. Okay, so it will tell you whether this particular condition is met or not, or these many records are there or not. So if I see more than 10,000 records, what should be done? So these are your cursors. So these will be explained as part of this training. All right. And the last 2 days, we will have an exercise which will have a real one example or one problem statement, and for this you will be asked to create the data and the respective SQL and PL/SQL queries should be written. Okay, all right. So this is what you can expect from this training. So I'm open for questions now. Please pose them. I'll be if you want to speak out, just raise your hand. I'll try to answer you. Okay. Only one exercise at the end. Exercise in the sense, from my side, I'll take any of the application. Okay. It will have at least 10 to 10 tables, and there would be complex queries that would be asked on top of that. So one simple example is we will take online store, and we will be asking you how many based on the requirement. I'll just let you know. This is the catalog, this is the customer information, this is the vendor information, this is the commission definition, the transactions that are done by the customer, the shipments, the shipment tracking. So this is the overall requirement. For this, you will have to create tables and insert records into it. Now we will be asking you, the exercise will be few questions like if the commission is greater than this, how much of the amount should be how much of the what do you say, whether it will fall into the grade A, grade B, or grade C. Or say suppose the number of units sold are greater than 10,000, then it should come as priority 1. So as soon as I search for any mobile, a mobile which is sold more than 10,000 units, that should come as a high priority, or what do you say, commonly used or commonly bought procedure feature. So if that is the case, how do you write my SQL query? So these are few examples that will go as part of my exercise. Okay, so this course is for 10 days. Okay, and based on the need, it will increase. See, we are not a training group where we see that we should be confined only for this 2 minutes or 3 days of session. Okay, based on students' understanding and the flow, we will extend the sessions. That's not a problem. Okay. Can we install all necessary software on our laptop? For this, the basic that is required is Oracle database. So this is free download, 11G or 12. It's available in Oracle website. Let me open it as well. Someone who is interested. And you need a client also, SQL developer or Toad. If you have SQL Plus, it will also help. Okay. Toad is not free to download, but you can use cracked version. But SQL developer is a free version. Is a free download. So you can download the database from this. SQL developer is the tool, the client which used to connect to the database. And if you want to use, if you want to download Oracle database, okay. 11G Express Edition, please don't go for it. Click on Oracle database. That's it. So it comes with 2 zip files. You need to download both of them based on you whatever system you got. So if you are using 64-bit Windows system, you need to select this. Oh, okay, it's coming only with one file list. Okay, 2 files are there. Yeah. All right. So based on your system configuration, select the files, download them both into one location, extract them into one single file. Both file 1 and file 2, you extract them into a single file, and then you continue your installation. All right. So this is for your database, and for client you need to install SQL Developer. Okay. What do we need to know about SQL for this course? See, SQL, you need to know how to write the basic select statements, what is a join, what are the different types of join, what is a union statement, how do you write your nested queries, how do you use the case statements, decode statements. This is what is the basic requirement for PLSQL. Okay, so I would suggest to you complete the SQL course and then come to the PLSQL. Else it would be like something alien language. Okay. Do we want to know about NoSQL? Okay. NoSQL is a different Radhika. This is a language mainly used for big data databases. Okay. It's quite different to SQL, but syntax looks similar, but there is a lot of difference between SQL and NoSQL. Oracle database download support Mac systems. Yes. This PLSQL is for ETL testing. Yes, Radhika. Generally, we can use it for all. Say, suppose I'll have to. I'm a Java tester or the white box tester who is testing majorly on Java applications. So for there also, you will have to write PLSQL queries. And if you are an ETL tester or a reporting tester like OBI or SSRS or Tableau, there also the first example was majorly for that actually. Okay, so even if you are a developer also, you need to have an understanding about PLSQL. Okay, what is the difference between ETL and SQL testing? We are going into different context here, but just a brief discussion. The difference is SQL testing or database testing is more of database specific, whereas ETL testing is from database to data warehouse, the data is migrated. So if you have to test the transformation logic, which is done either using Informatica or SSIS or Pervasive, if you are testing those transformation logics and the data thus migrated using these transformations, then that is called as ETL testing. Okay. Whereas SQL or database is more of the database side testing. Akila, in the download section for Windows 64, different types like Standard Edition 2, Enterprise Edition, SC2, etc. are there. Use the first one, Enterprise Edition. Okay. Okay. Is this course meant for people who have prior experience in SQL? If not, we are going to start with basics. This is more for those who are aware of SQL or experienced on SQL. Okay. So I would, it is practical also. It's not a selling point, but it's practical that if you have a knowledge on SQL, that then only it will help you in understanding PLSQL. But then again, SQL, you can learn it in 10-15 days. Okay. What is the prerequisite to learn big data? Okay. I mean, this is not a context, but I'll just let you help you in understanding what's big data. Now, you all understand why the data warehouse concept came into picture, right? At least you understand that, Ketki? Okay. Say you have a real-time transaction system. Say you take any online store or any grocery store. Okay, you will have a lot of transactions. If you take bigger organized or bigger online stores, there will be at least 10 lakhs to 1 million of transactions. Sorry, 10 lakhs of or 1 million of transactions that happen in a day, right? So how does these transactions happen? It all depends on the configuration of the database, right? Simple example is you have your laptop, your configuration would be some 8 GB RAM and 2 terabytes of ROM, right? So if more space is used, or you have dumped the system with some data and you are trying to install a software and it is getting hanged. Why does it happen? Because it has less memory, and yeah, so your space is lost. So for any transaction to happen, there's a cache memory concept that is there, which means I'll have to perform some transactions. So in order to perform the transactions, I have to park some pieces of code to do the transaction. Okay, so if you go back to your bus concept, the FIFO and LIFO concept, and you remember this, right? The bus concept, the FIFO and LIFO concept. So if there are multiple transactions or multiple applications that are running, for each application there should be some memory allocated, and to process those activities of the respective application, some amount of memory is consumed. So now if I have 2 GB of RAM and I have 20 applications running, and each application is consuming some 200 MB of space. So 20 into 200 is almost 4000. So my 4 GB RAM is 4 into 1028, right? Which is somewhere around 4100 and something. So now my 20 applications consumed 4000 of space. Now if I add one more application, obviously my system will hang, right? That's a simple way of telling. The same way a database, if we have a lot of transactions happening, it will also consume the physical memory as well as the RAM memory of the server which is hosting this. On top of it, if a management side want to see how many units of a particular product has been sold, or they want to pull out or report total number of transactions happened, or total amount that is gained as a profit, if they want to do such transactions on the real-time database, it will obviously is a burden to that particular application or database. It would be nice if you have a replica of the real-time data in a different system and you do such activities there. So this is where the concept of data warehouse came into picture. So you replicate the data of real-time into some other place, use it as a sandbox, play on it, pull the reports, see, do some analysis. So that's where the ETL concept, the data warehouse came, and the analysis and reporting part that you do is your reporting tools like OBI, Tableau, SSRS, etc. So the way you copy from database to data warehouse is called as ETL. So you testing this copying part is called as ETL testing. Now, say suppose you copied it from database to data warehouse. You never know whether the copy is done correctly or not, or say suppose tomorrow the source data is completely lost. So how do you have a proof that this data is still existing or this data was correctly copied or not? So that's where big data came into picture. Also, in real time, you'll have multiple systems, right? It's not just the database. You will have the information coming from third parties in form of files, PDFs. So these are all your heterogeneous systems. They are not in the same format, right? So you need to make them uniform and keep them for future purpose as a record, right? So if you hold all this information in one system, that is your big data. Simple way of telling. There's much more to it. There's a lot like performance management, record management, etc., etc. But on a high level, this is one simple way of telling what is big data. Again, we are going off the record, but just for your information. Okay, there's a question from Shakti. Can we attend these as classroom trainings or only online training is available? These are only online trainings, Shakti. Is this included as part of JPAC? Yes, Hitesh. When will the paid sessions for PL/SQL will start? We are planning to start it from 15th of this month. Okay. Any other questions, team? I don't see database download for Mac. Hitesh, I'll send you an offline email how to download it for Mac. Okay. All right, everyone. Do you have any other questions before we wind off? All right. So thanks everyone for joining today's session. See you back in the live training. Bye bye.